Welcome back. Today, we're doing something, well, a little different.
A lot different, actually.
We're jumping into what might be the ultimate musical meritocracy. It's called the album quest.
That's right, and it comes from this author, Greensterox, who for years has been running this fascinating, really structured competition.
And the goal is ambitious, to say the least.
It's to tackle the impossible. Finding the best album of all time. It's part intellectual exercise, part critical framework, and honestly, just a great excuse to listen to a ton of music.
And our mission for this album quest is to shortcut you right to the core of it. We're looking at one specific, and I think really contentious, group review.
We're diving into round 2, group 42.
Okay, so the fact that it's round 2 already tells you something.
Oh, absolutely. The stakes are high. Every single album in this group has already fought its way out of a round 1 group. They've proven they have some merit.
But the competition gets tougher now.
Brutally competitive. The mission is simple. 4 albums go in, top 2 move on to round 3, bottom 2 are just gone. Eliminated for good.
And the lineup for this group is, it's just a wonderful, absurd clash of styles. It really sets up a fantastic comparison.
It really does. First up, you've got the very polished, very contemporary pop of Charlie Puth's debut, 9-Track Mind.
The source dubs him the Puthster.
He does, yes. And we'll find out pretty quickly that the critique isn't so much about his talent, but more about his production choices.
Okay, contender number 2.
That would be the sheer class and, emotional weight of Don Henley's The End of Innocence.
A true heavyweight. The author calls him the Little Tin God.
Which I love. It suggests this kind of reverence, but maybe with a little jab at that huge 80s rock star persona,
Totally. Then next up, we have something completely different.
The Black Eyed Peas Elephunk. It's this wildly energetic, genre-bending melting pot. It brings in funk, hip-hop, all these global sounds.
And finally, squaring off against all of that, the big one.
The monumental, theatrical prog rock epic from 1978.
Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds.
Dubbed The Martian's Heat Ray, and it feels like it's here to just vaporize the competition.
It's a true clash then.
Yeah.
You've got concept albums versus pop, high-energy funk against this, reflective 80s rock.
It is, and what we need to figure out is how the criteria, which is this mix of, objective musical strength and Greensterox's very personal but very rigorously applied standards, how they manage to judge these 4 completely different albums on the same scale.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we even get into the music, we have to talk about the process. What makes this album quest framework, the right way to find the best album of all time? We have to start with the methodology.
Right. The strength of the whole album quest thing is its rigor. This isn't just a list some critics threw together over lunch.
No, it feels much more scientific than that.
It's a structured tournament-style competition, and this is the key part. The albums are grouped randomly.
That's the genius of it, I think.
It is, because it forces these unexpected comparisons. And then Greensterox ranks them from best to worst within that group. Top 2 advance, bottom 2 are out.
And that random grouping, like you said, is essential. You would never, ever naturally put War of the Worlds up against Elephunk in a normal review.
Never.
But the quest forces the author to articulate exactly why one might be better than the other. It strips away all that genre comfort.
And because this is round 2, we know these albums have already been through the ringer. They earned their spot here, and understanding that journey adds a lot of context.
Yeah, let's actually detail those paths. They tell you a lot about the critical palette of the quest itself. Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, for instance, got here pretty convincingly.
Oh, absolutely. In its round 1 group, Group 27, it took first place. No problem.
And look at what it beat.
It eliminated Crush by Bon Jovi, Disco by the Pet Shop Boys, and Pearls of Passion by Roxette.
So that's massive 80s stadium rock, sophisticated synth pop, and pure pop rock.
All swept aside, the Martian epic just overpowered these, very strong but maybe more conventional albums.
That makes sense. A really well-done concept album has this extra layer of ambition that can be hard to compete with. Don Henley's path was pretty similar, right?
Very similar in terms of dominance, yeah. The End of Innocence was in Group 5. It also clinched first place.
And its competition.
It was up against Double Vision by Foreigner, Straight Between the Eyes by Rainbow, and another Pet Shop Boys album, Very.
So more classic AOR, established 80s rock.
Exactly. And Henley's brand of that mature, reflective rock just stood head and shoulders above them in that group.
Okay, so now we get to the really interesting part of the story, the two albums that just scraped through in second place.
The survivors.
And maybe the biggest story of round one, maybe in the whole quest so far, belongs to the Black Eyed Peas.
Without a doubt, Elephunk was in Group 117. It took second place. But to understand how big that is, you have to look at what it eliminated.
Okay, this is the part that just blew my mind when I read it.
To get through, Elephunk advanced by knocking out Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
Great, pause on that. The debut Black Sabbath album, the one that basically invented an entire genre of music.
The very one, the foundational text of heavy metal, gone. And just for good measure, it also knocked out the Beatles' Yellow Submarine soundtrack.
So what you're saying is that an album with Hey Mama on it eliminated the album with Iron Man on it, metaphorically speaking.
That is pretty much what the quest determined, yes. And it's the ultimate reflection of Greenstocks' unique critical lens.
It has to be. What does that even tell us?
It tells us that this quest is not prioritizing historical significance or, a foundational influence above everything else.
It can't be.
It's a clear signal that the author is weighing things like modern relevance, originality in a modern context, and just the sheer excitement of the listening experience over pure historical impact.
If you're a classic rock purist, that result is basically blasphemy. But for the quest, it means Elephunk must have this incredibly high degree of energy and variety and maybe a personal resonance that the author just wasn't feeling from those classic albums on a re-listen.
Precisely. It challenges that default assumption that classic always equals best. It suggests Elephunk brought something vital, that organic melting pot quality we'll get into, that made the old guard feel a little dated.
The audacity of that elimination just underscores the whole project. It's personal, but it's rigorous.
And then, quickly, you have Charlie Puth's Path. 9-Track Mind was in Group 211, also took second place.
Right, but its journey was a bit different.
A lot different. It advanced by eliminating a vinyl album called Fingers of Gold by Juanito de Alba and a compilation called Heart and Soul of Valentine's Collection.
A notably less intimidating field.
To say the least. So this really sets the stage for our group. You have the two clear winners, Henley and Wayne, facing off against the two second-place survivors, Puth and the Peas, which takes us right into the first battle.
The battle of production. We're jumping right into the content now, and starts with this head-to-head. The two contemporary pop albums, 9-Track Mind and Elephunk.
And the source material just declares them light years apart.
And the reason for that comes down to one thing.
The production. The texture and the choices made in the studio. And the critique is aimed squarely at that philosophy, not really at the talent.
Right. Charlie Puth, the Puthster, is acknowledged as a nice lad with a good voice.
He's clearly a skilled guy, but the final judgment on 9-Track Mind is that the music is, and I quote, "so sterile."
Okay, let's break that down. What does a sterile production actually sound like? Because the author uses this unforgettable analogy.
It's so good.
He says the album is cleaner than a baby's tippy cup submerged in Milton.
That's not just clean, right? That's medically disinfected.
Exactly. It implies that everything is over-processed, over-quantized.
Right, quantization, where you snap every single beat perfectly to a grid. When you do that too much, you just suck the human feel right out of it. The swing, the tiny imperfections that make music feel alive.
So in a sterile album, every drum sounds identical, every vocal is perfectly auto-tuned, and there's no sense of space or dirt. It's polished until it's lifeless.
And that directly impacts the listening experience. Look at the opening track, One Call Away. It's called minimalistic, which could be good.
But here it's a weakness.
Yeah, that minimalism combined with the sterile sound detracts a little from the experience. Even though the melody itself is catchy, the song is there, but the world it lives in is just too thin.
And the album struggles with consistency, doesn't it?
It does. The collaboration with Selena Gomez, We Don't Talk Anymore, is pointed out as the best track. It has a bit more texture, a bit more rhythm.
But the other big collab, Marvin Gaye, with Meghan Trainor, is just dismissed as no more than just okay.
Which, for a song trying to channel that vibe, is a pretty damning review. It just doesn't have the weight.
The review mentions a few other entertaining tracks, like Suffer and Dangerously, but then immediately contrasts them with weaker stuff like Left, Right, Left.
And then there's You, which are called Not Particularly Strong at All. If your album is all about production polish, every track has to feel perfect. And this one just doesn't hold up.
And the final nail in the coffin is that the only real change in style comes at the very, very end.
With the huge hit, See You Again with Wiz Khalifa.
Which was technically from his soundtrack first, right? It was just tacked on. So it's an outlier, not really part of the album's core sound.
So the final verdict is pretty harsh for a major label debut.
A mildly curious listening experience, but ultimately a long way short of the competition. That sterility was its fatal flaw. It just stopped any real emotional connection from happening.
Okay, so from that clinical sound, let's pivot hard to the Black Eyed Peas.
To Elephunk. And if Puth's album is clinical, this one is described as the exact opposite. A wildly organic, all-embracing melting pot of styles and instruments.
The review even admits it can sound messy in a few places. But here, messy is a good thing. It's the sound of creativity, of spontaneity. It's four people just throwing every idea they have into the mix and seeing what sticks.
That's a huge distinction. The author admits that some of the pop parts are a bit cheesy here and there.
And they are, let's be honest.
But that breeziness is kind of a disguise for what's underneath, which is described as brilliantly varied and yet extremely authentic hip-hop.
The production just feels real. It feels analog even when it's digital because the ideas are just flowing so fast.
Let's get specific about that genre fusion, because the album is just overflowing with ideas.
It really is. You've got Jamaican patois rapping on Hey Mama. You have the raw energy of nu metal mixed with hip-hop on the track, Anxiety.
And then there's the samba influence on tracks like Latin Girls.
This willingness to pull from all these different global sounds, these complex rhythms, is what lifts Elephunk way beyond being just another pop album.
Yeah, while Puth was busy refining this one, very narrow, very clean sound, the Black Eyed Peas were just aggressively experimenting.
And showing their influences proudly. And it wasn't just fun and games. The album actually had a surprising lyrical edge to it.
Right, the sharp lyrical takes on contemporary issues.
will.i.am and the crew weren't afraid to get into social commentary, which leads to that one specific, really potent quote about post-9/11 anxiety.
Yeah, we still have terrorism here in the USA, the big CIA.
I mean, that's a heavy line to drop into a party album. But that combination of infectious rhythm, real experimentation, and social substance is what gave it the power to knock out Black Sabbath. It wasn't just catchy, it was trying to engage with the world.
And then, of course, you have the massive hit, Where Is the Love?
The big one. And the deep dive here reveals that Justin Timberlake co-wrote it.
Which makes total sense when you listen to it. Green Rocks calls it an excellent rap-pop song with a positive, human-centric message.
And it is. It was a huge, globally important song. So if you bring it all back to the Quest's methodology, it rewards authenticity. It rewards engagement.
9-Track Mind failed because its sterile production just killed the emotion.
And Elephunk succeeded because its organic, messy, varied production embraced creativity. Despite both being pop albums, they were judged on these core choices, and that's what made them light years apart.
So Elephunk wins the pop battle, but its journey doesn't get any easier.
No. Unfortunately for the Peas, it then came up against the group's true heavyweights.
And that takes us to a whole different level of competition. As the source says, Elephunk was strong, but it came up against two strong albums that represent, really, the peak of ambition and class in this group.
Yeah, when we move to Don Henley and Jeff Wayne, we're shifting gears. We're going from albums trying to be excellent within a pop format to albums that define excellence by just expanding what rock music can even do.
Let's start with Don Henley, The End of Innocence from 1989. This is, high-level, mature songwriting.
It's described as a classy effort and musically very strong. It's sort of the definitive sound of late 80s adult contemporary rock, but with real substance behind it.
And the author immediately sets a baseline for it, comparing it to Henley's other work.
Right. They say it's much superior to his other solo album they own, Building the Perfect Beast. That's an important note. It tells you that even within Henley's own discography, this one is special.
The key selling point seems to be that emotional maturity. This isn't just polish for the sake of polish. It's polished songwriting.
And the highlights really show that depth. The opening title track is a perfect example. It's elevated by Bruce Hornsby's piano work. That one addition just lends the specific melancholic gravitas to the whole song.
Then you get darker stuff like New York Minute,
which is such a great track. It's all about the speed and the anxiety of life. It captures a whole emotional landscape. And then, of course, the album ends ends with the poignant final track, Heart of the Matter.
Which deals with forgiveness and moving on.
Really heavy themes, but I have to challenge this a little. We just finished praising Elephunk for being messy and organic and risky.
Okay.
Doesn't Don Henley, with his polished structure, represent the kind of musical safety that Puth was aiming for, just, executed way better? Why does his polish beat the Black Eyed Peas' raw energy?
That's a great question, and it gets to the heart of the critique. I think the difference is what the polish is serving. Puth's polish was sterile, and it was kind of masking inconsistent songs. Henley's polish enhances what is already superb material.
So it's about the emotional core.
Exactly. Greenstocks makes a point of saying Henley's vocals carry serious emotional weight on this album. He claims his voice has arguably never sounded better. The polished sound is there to amplify the emotion, not to sanitize it.
Okay, that makes sense. The polish is justified by the maturity of the material. It's a polished effort that secures that second qualifying spot because it just delivers more sophistication, more lasting emotional resonance than the Black Eyed Peas album.
Right, the energy of Elephunk is amazing, but it might not have the same depth over time.
But even Henley, with all his class, couldn't touch the real winner of this group.
No. This is where the quest shifts from evaluating class to evaluating pure ambition and immersion.
Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds.
The source calls it an inspired masterpiece of rock and roll storytelling and a full-on immersive prog rock alien invasion. This is not just an album, it's a whole sonic world on a double LP.
And what sets it apart is the execution. It's so masterfully done. The structure is held together by Richard Burton's narration, which lets the music literally become the soundtrack to the H.G. Wells novel.
The sound itself is incredible. The orchestration is mixed seamlessly with these tight electric guitars and really powerful early synth work. It's a synthesis that so many concept albums try for and just fail to achieve.
And the cast. I mean, the cast is legendary.
A stellar cast
Yeah.
of vocalists, yeah. You've got Justin Hayward from the Moody Blues, Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy.
David Essex bringing that theatrical quality, and Julie Covington with all that emotional power. When you assemble a team like that, you're elevating the whole project beyond just a simple rock opera.
Each singer plays a specific character, right? They move the narrative forward.
Exactly. Hayward's Forever Autumn is the perfect moment of melancholy, right in the middle of all the terror. It gives you that emotional counterpoint you need.
But this is where the review gets intensely personal, and it brings up these huge questions about what makes an album the best in a subjective quest like this. We have to talk about the carbon dating anecdote.
This is the best part. It's the moment you realize the album's victory is completely tied up with the author's own personal history.
He dates his entry point to the album when he was 12 or 13, using what he calls a variation of carbon dating.
But it uses Commodore Amiga 500 games instead of carbon.
It's such a specific, perfect memory for anyone from that generation. The connection is tied to the game Kickoff 2.
And not just the base game. He specifies it was the World Cup 1990 add-on with real countries but fictional players. That level of detail firmly plants the memory in the year 1990.
And the memory is so vivid because you got 3 albums at the same time: War of the Worlds, Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms, and an Ultravox's Greatest Hits.
And he says every time he listens to one of them, a part of my psyche conjures memories of playing Kickoff 2.
And what's beautiful about that is it's a defense of subjectivity. The memory of sitting there, playing this frantic soccer game while being terrified by Martians on your stereo, that cultural collision lifts War of the Worlds from just a good album to like a foundational life memory.
It makes the case that great art is often inseparable from the context where you first found it.
But the relationship wasn't always perfect, right?
Yeah.
He admits to having listener fatigue with it.
Yeah, after decades he was afraid it had been listened to death. It's a common thing with narrative albums like this.
He describes his poor, young, naive mind just wanting the hits. He'd skip the in-between bits to get to the big set pieces.
Forever Autumn, Thunderchild, Spirit of Man.
But the big revelation for the quest was that he had this rekindled relationship with it during the review. He found a new appreciation for the whole thing.
For all of it. The repeated synth motifs, the overall structure, and those iconic, terrifying Martian sounds, the ULAHS.
We should probably clarify the ULEHS.
We should. It's the specific 3-note sound motif that represents the Martians. It's their voice, it's the sound of their heat ray charging up, it's just a piece of sound design genius.
And his new appreciation even extended to the theatrical bits, like David Essex yelling, "There they are. What did I tell you?" It's a stage play disguised as a rock album.
Which brings up this huge meta question for the whole quest. Can you ever really separate an album's quality from your personal history with it? From that carbon dating?
War of the Worlds seems to prove that when you have incredible technical quality intersecting with a profound, personal, immersive experience, that album becomes almost impossible to beat.
The author's conviction says it all. He genuinely finds it hard to think of many albums that can better it. And that is what secured the #1 spot.
So after all that, the final scorecard for round 2, Group 42, is pretty conclusive.
It is. The final rankings from Greenstrokes are set.
Number 1, moving on to round 3, is Jeff Wayne's The War of the Worlds.
Number 2, also qualifying, Don Henley's The End of Innocence.
Which means, eliminated at number 3 is the Black Eyed Peas' Elephunk.
And in last place, also eliminated, is Charlie Puth's 9-track Mind.
The big takeaway from Jeff Wayne's win is that this quest really rewards massive narrative ambition when it's pulled off successfully.
It does. It's hard for a standard pop or rock album, no matter how good it is, to compete with a 90-minute sonic journey that weaves together an orchestra, prog rock, and a story like that. The scope of the project itself was a huge factor.
And Don Henley's success just reinforces the power of sincere emotion backed up by flawless, mature songwriting. It was the masterclass that had the necessary weight to get that second spot.
And you see the nuance in Elefunk's elimination. We praised it a lot. It was a fantastic original album.
No question.
But in a direct fight with these two specific heavyweights, it just came up against albums with superior emotional weight and narrative ambition.
It's a lesson in competition.
Right.
You could be excellent, but if you're up against something truly transcendent, excellent might not be enough.
Whereas Charlie Puth's album was eliminated because its flaws were just foundational. That sterile production meant it could never really connect on the level needed to compete here.